Hey there, this is Niels Beardfruit, and today we are crafting the Moth mother bag from leather. For this project we're using mostly 2.5mm wedge tanned leather and some fur. Print the pattern, tape it together, cut it out and transfer it onto the leather and cut out that too. We got a lot of cutouts in the wings here, so it can be helpful to use a small round hole punch to punch in the corners first. With a beveler, we break the edges and prepare them for burnishing, not only on the outside edges, but also on all the cutouts. Now we want to put on our stamps and embossings, and for this we have to moisten it and let it set for a few minutes, and then we can start to emboss. This drying time we take and punch the actual round holes and sewing holes that we need and transfer all the gray lines from the pattern on the leather. These we want to cut now with a swivel knife and then use a beveler to punch along these lines to get some depth in there. And after this we can take whatever stamps that we like to add additional decoration. For the other pieces it's more or less the same. Here I just used different stamps, and for these lines I used a bone folder. Next up is dyeing, and for the base coat I used a water-based dye, and as you might notice the leather is pretty water repelling, so I had to go over it twice just to get the look that I want. But in the end it still looked a little bit different than on the other pieces where it wasn't that water repelling here. As you can see here, this one is a different color than that one, despite being the very same dye. And earlier, before the dye, I already noticed that the wings have a little bit different shape of the natural color, as you can see here. And this, I noticed, is because they were moist a little bit longer. To get to the color that I like, I use an airbrush as well. Start with some dark brown, going all the lines and all the areas that I want darker, and then repeat the same part also with black. On all the body pieces I went in with a very low angle with the airbrush to create also some shadows. With some 1000 grit sandpaper I go lightly over the top of the leather to remove some of the dark dye, so it only is, or mostly is, in the deeper areas. I added a few highlights with acrylic paint, starting with white and then yellow over the white, because if you start with the yellow it looks more green due to the base color. To finish up the leather, I used some resist. I put it on top side, on the flash side, and also on all the edges. And the moisture I used there also to burnish them. Unfortunately, I forgot to film this process of burnishing, so here's it from another project. Once all pieces are finished with the dye, we want to shape them, and for this we want to moisten them again, give them some drying time, and then start with that. I like to use just a regular breakfast bowl, which is mostly half round, and use it to help me shape this. What I do, I put it in and then just press it along the edge to shape it in 2 dimensions at the same time. For the pieces that I put fur on, it's the same process, but here you can put the top side to the inside. These are the legs, just give them a little bit rounder shape. And this is the moth butt. When this one gets shaped a little bit different, like this. This is supposed to become the head of the moth. And here it's pretty much the same part, just in all the straps. Is that understandable? Not sure. Hope you see it in video as it should be. For the fur, you want to cut the fur slightly bigger than it has to be in the end, just to be sure. Mark on the flash side where it's supposed to be, and then put on contact cement on both pieces. After about 15 minutes of drying time, put them together and try to have as few wrinkles as possible. Cut away the excess fur on all the edges, but 2 of 2 different pieces. On these we want to leave 1 to 2 centimeters of excess. Put on some contact cement on these edges, also on the wedge tan leather of the edge, and then fold them over. A regular electrical hair cutter like this one is needed for this piece, because we have to shave away the fur that is not required on the top side of the wedge tan leather of the fur. It would just do putting the pieces together more difficult. Now we covered all the round holes and sewing holes with fur, so we have to repunch them. These are now all the fur pieces. This one is the lowest one, where we fold it over the edge. Then we got these 2, which are basically the mirror of each other and have this long sewing line. And here we want to shave free the sewing line. And this one is the neck. And here also we want to flip over the edge. For the wings, we also have to do some preparations in these circle areas here, with these circles. These are meant to strengthen the leather here, because that's where the arm straps will be attached to. So if you don't need the arm straps, you don't need these. Because this is a little bit tedious, because you have to cut away all the excess leather now from the circle, also in the cutout. And this is not much fun. Next are the ears, and those are biologically not the ears, but they look kind of like it. So what we do here is glue these pieces together with contact cement, and then have the mirrored piece of the longer one to put it on the top side and sew it. For this you first have to recut the sewing holes all the way through the piece that we just glued on, and then sew it. Also 2 round holes are needed here for the rivets. Those are the eyes, and let me tell you, these are special because the distance between each sewing hole is a little bit longer than on all the sewing holes of the head where it's sewn on. This is because we want to shrink the leather of the eye, which is a little bit thinner, to make it pop out. But this leads to the effect that you might think it's not going to fit. But trust me, it's going to. Just pull your threads tight and you're going to be fine. If you're really struggling, moisten the eye a little bit and then it's going to fit. And this is also what is helping here, because we want to push it out a little bit more even to make it pop more. Now for the ears we got the 2 round holes and we use some rivets to rivet them on the head. Here we got also a long sewing edge, and on the neck we also have a long sewing edge where we flipped over the fur, and that's where we want to sew the head in. This will be kind of a messy challenge, because we want to sew on the fur facing all the hairs in one direction, away from the head. And also it will be difficult to find the sewing holes in the fur, because you have to pull away the hairs all the time at the same time like this, else you will pull them in the sewing hole, which is super annoying. So don't stress out, take your time. And for almost all the other edges in the fur, we only use rivets. These are not that annoying. The legs in the end will be the closure for the bag, so we want to add some pressure buttons. Make sure that you got the right amount of left and right legs with the fitting pieces of the pressure buttons together. And on the fur pieces we got these 2 round holes on almost all the pieces. That's where we're going to put on the legs. So shave them a little bit free to give you an easier time. Now we got these pieces with a mirrored of each other almost, and we got this long sewing line on which we sew them together. And now they don't look like they're going to fit anymore, so we want to moisten them and then bend them back in the shape. And especially want to press down this sewing edge just to make sure that we got the shape in the end that we want. On the neck it is also very helpful, just like on all the other pieces, to shave away the round holes, which will be put under another layer of leather anyway. And now we start to rivet the pieces together. The easiest way to do it is just start from the center and then go to one side and then to the other side, just one hole after the other. Chances are you may have to force the holes together a little bit, but just take your time, you will be fine. An anvil with about these abilities like this one is very versatile and really needed for this project. You will have a hard time if you don't have one that can be put somewhere in there to put on all the rivets. And it's the same way for the last fur piece here. Just rivet it on. For the remaining body pieces, those without fur, those are sewn together. Like this. Notice that here there's a sewing line, but this last hole is not sewn on the other pieces, but only on itself. And then you rivet it on the rest. In case you have a different anvil for your project, it can be easier to not sew this very last edge of the last piece that is closing the gap until now. This is an old shoemaker's anvil. It's very versatile, it's small and super practical for this project. With others it should work too, but you will have a little bit more difficult time. Now the body is assembled, but we still cannot close this gap until the very end. This is a perfect time to give this piece a haircut. You can also do it in the very end, that's fine, but until the wings are not added, you get everywhere a little bit easier. So what I did is shape away for around the legs and then also on the wings where those are attached. I specifically let the collar stand quite big and long with the hair because I wanted to have it for the style. Now we can attach the wings, the bigger and the smaller ones. And for this, again, I just used rivets. Here again, the shoemaker's anvil is a really big help. And now, finally, for the last step, we can sew together the gap in the head. Closing the opening will be difficult in the beginning, but over time, when you cut away all the hair that want to stick in there, and if you get some practice, it's quite doable. And that's it. That's the Moth Mother bag. It's big, it's looking beautiful, and my favorite part are definitely the eyes. They just look so good. There's quite a lot of space in there, and it's most of the time also practical, but obviously not as practical as a regular handbag. I told you. On how to wear it, you got actually 3 options here. You can wear it like this. These openings in the wings are designed exactly for that. You can also add the arm straps on these openings here in the wings and put them together. You can wear them just like a regular handbag. In the beginning, I also thought I could add them here, but turns out this is just not going to look good because it's going to flap over there like this. So here, you're just fine. Or you add a longer strap, and this one you can put in these openings. All the other triangles have only pointy corners, but this one is specifically rounded for it. So put them in on both wings, and now we can wear them towards or away from your body, which I personally prefer. Thank you for sticking around till the end. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I'm making it, and hope you see you guys next time. Have a great day.